Hi everybody, and welcome to another great episode of AP Lazer Workshop. I'm glad to see everybody here today. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about wood engravings and making some wood signs here. I've got a couple samples that I kind of ran a little bit earlier just to show you the few differences there are between the types of engravings you can do with wood signs. So the first example I have is right here, which is just a straightforward, simple engrave file. So basically nothing too special about this. Create the file, send it over, and just grave it as it is. Another nice option you have is being able to do something a little bit more inverted here. So what we're doing on this one compared to the other one that we had is we're actually engraving the entire background to actually leave our image instead of actually engraving it. It can give you a really cool different type of look to it. The letters are nice elevated. The downside to doing something this way here though too is you can kind of see with this one is you bring out a lot of imperfections in the wood that may be hidden. And then another nice option, which is what we're going to kind of be working with today, is we're going to kind of make almost like a 3D sign similar to this here. Basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a little bit of engraving and cutting. So we're going to be able to see a lot of functions going on with the machine today. What we're going to be actually working on and engraving on is I've got a nice piece of round pine here. That we're going to actually be engraving, and then we're going to be using some other type of wood to go through to actually cut out our image and overlay on top of it. So we almost have an inlet here. Now, when you're doing something like this, you feel free to paint, stain, anything like that. We're just kind of keeping it simple right now for this example. Something like this you can pick up at Home Depot, Lowe's, Marv's, any place like that for right around $9 or $10. And this is about 17 and a half, 17 3/4, almost 18 inches round. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and jump in through our CorelDRAW program and get working on our file here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my CorelDRAW. I'm going to go ahead and start with a new document here. We'll go ahead and name this. We're going to be doing some craft beer signs here, so we'll put beer sign. I'm working with a little bit bigger of a working area, a 24 by 24. And this is just to make sure that I'm staying within my area. Kind of helps me center in things a little bit better. And we're running with a 300 DPI. Go ahead and hit OK here. So the first thing that I want to do is I actually want to draw the outline of my material or my pine wood here. So I'm going to come over to my left-hand side toolbar and I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. And I'm just going to come in here anywhere and just draw a size. I'm going to come up to the top left and I'm going to grab my pick tool. And I'm going to make sure that my ratio is unlocked because you can see right here that I kind of drew an oblong instead of a circle. Turn that off and we're going to do 17.75 and 17.75. All right. Now, I've talked about this in a couple of my other videos, and this technique here that I'm going to show you is one reason that I do this. So when you set up your normal Corel, okay, it's going to show you your 0 mark here on the left and then down here on the bottom left, showing this is our 0, 0 mark. Me personally, I kind of like to work with my 0 being in the center of my page. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the left to where my rulers meet. I'm going to right click and I'm going to come here to ruler setup. So I had made my page 24 by 24. So over here under origin, I can change this to 12 by 12, basically just cutting that working area in half and hitting OK. So you can kind of see how my ruler here has moved around, and so now my 0 mark is right smack dab in the center. One benefit of this is just kind of helps because we're going to be bringing in different things and overlaying them, so it just makes sure that we're staying centered in on our image here. So up at the top left here where it says X and Y, I'm actually going to change that to 0, 0, and we'll see how our circle here will snap right to the center of my page. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to actually bring in my image here. We're going to be working with an EPS file. So we're going to go to File and Import. Look at our desktop here. And our craft beers. I'm going to import this in as editable and as curves. And I'm just going to kind of come away from my circle here and drop down. Go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so we can see our images. I purchased this image here off of a website called Big Stock. It's a great place to go to get imagery. A lot of times when I'm going after certain images, something like this, is I try to look for sheets. That way I have a few different options on things that I can do. So from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually ungroup everything. So I can hit Control U, and then I'm just going to select this one right here, bring that back out, and then I'm just going to group this back together to help me with my scaling. So I'm going to hit Control G to group that image, and come back over to our other ones, and we'll go ahead and delete those. So from here I can go ahead and kind of scale this up a little bit. And then again, because I've set my 0 mark for the center of my page, I can come back over here to my X and Y and hit 0, 0 to snap that right there. They're a little bit big, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize. And we'll snap it back. And bring this up to kind of fill up some of the space here a little bit. That's good there. So now what I want to do is I'm actually going to ungroup this again. So Control U. Because I kind of want to make some of these, just because we have so much empty space down here, I'm going to adjust some of this text here. Not that much. So I'm going to select the established here. Increase that. And I'm going to bring it down a little bit lower. And grab our craft beer and make that a little bit bigger. And then again, just to make sure that we're staying proportionate here, I'm going to come up to my coordinates here, and I'm just going to choose 0 for my X. That's just my left and right movement. And I'm going to do the same down here. 0. Now, with EPS files are great files to work with. There's not a lot you have to do to these files. They normally come in pretty smooth, and you can basically bring them in, size them up, and send them out. Now, are they absolute perfect without need of any work? Not always. Okay, and I'm going to show you a little bit what I'm talking about. So we got this little hops here. So I'm going to select all of my images here, or my entire image, and I'm going to come over to the right-hand side toolbar where my dockers are, and I'm going to select my properties dockers here. Now if you don't have your dockers here, what you can do is come up to Window, down to Dockers, and then you can add in dockers this way here. You can also here, if you've got some already established, and hit this plus sign here and do the same thing. You can add in different dockers. So with my image selected here, and I'm on my properties dockers, I'm going to come here to the outline. And actually, below that, I'm going to do a hairline. And we'll leave the color the same. Come over to my fill, and I'm just going to head and drop out my fill here. So you can see that our letters like brewery, American beer, established 1996, everything looks good. But if we zoom in on our hops here, we can see how all these lines are intertwined. And basically with a lot of these kind of design files that you purchase, this can happen because when they come through and they add in the color, they're basically just changing or hiding those lines there. So we zoom in here and we see those. Now if we want to get very meticulous about this, we can come in and we can go ahead and try to use our segment delete tool, or we can try to use our welding tools or our trim tools. A lot of times those don't work too well. So I want to be able to show you a little trick here. I'm going to come in here, move my circle out of the way here, and I'm just going to select my hops here. So a really cool trick that you can actually do is I'm going to take this image here and I'm going to come up to bitmaps and I'm going to convert it to a bitmap. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking all these layers and just squishing them down into one. I'm going to hit OK. And then what I want to do is I actually want to come up here to my trace bitmap, and I'm going to select an outline trace, line art. Let this process real quick. Thinking we can see our little time estimate down here. Let's just be a few seconds. Taking a little bit longer than, there we go. Saw our progress shoot up. There it goes. And there we be. Now if we don't like the look at this one here, because I can kind of see some overlapping lines here, we can come through and we can change this. Now part of the reason this is taking a little bit longer is because when I converted it over to a BMP, it asked me about the DPI, which we had preset at 300. You can always reduce that DPI a little bit more on that, just to help speed this up a little bit. And that looks a lot better there. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my delete original and go ahead and hit OK. So now with that image selected, if I drop out the color and add in my hairline, now I can see that I don't have all those intertwining lines going through there. I'll go ahead and add the fill back in there. And then we're going to take our circle here and we're going to snap it back. So 0, 0, just like that. So we're going to select this entire image here now. And we're going to go ahead and File and Export. I'll put it on our desktop here. We're going to be using a DXF AutoCAD here. Okay, we want a AutoCAD R14. We're sending it out in inches. Export text as curves. Bitmap as BMP. And it doesn't really matter as far as color or unfilled. And go ahead and note OK. Go ahead and minimize this, and we're going to open up our RDWorks. We'll go ahead and import that in. So we're going to go to File and Import. And we'll look on our desktop here. And there's our sign there. All right. Now you can see because I had some color left in this, this hops here that I've come up with two different layers. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to come down to my bottom color bar and I'm just going to select one color to condense everything in. All right. I'm going to switch it from laser cut to laser scan. And before I adjust these speed and power settings or anything like that, I kind of want to show you the difference of how I made those first two signs. Okay? So if I wanted a more inverted look, kind of similar to this here, what I would actually do is I would leave it just as one layer for the scan. So if we simulate this, we can see how it's engraving the entire circle and leaving the text and everything there. Now, if we wanted to cut this out and we wanted this look to it, basically what we would do is we would just select our circle after it's done engraving. We can select another color for another layer, and we can see that it's already come up with a cut. So I would just turn the output on my scan to no. I would just go ahead and re-download, and then just go ahead and hit start again. It's going to pick up right where it left off and then just come through and cut the image here. Now, if we wanted to look like what we had on this other one here, just like this, we would set it up just like how we have it here, only we would leave both these layers on. So we have the inside that's going to get engraved, and then we have the blue circle that's going to get cut. So if we simulate this one here, we can see how it's coming out. Now it looks like I've got some overlapping lines in here on my hops that I want to get rid of, and that's why we're not really seeing this fine detail in here. So to get rid of overlapping lines, what you do is you're just going to select the entire image, and if you come up to your toolbar here, you've got delete overlap, or you can come up to handle and delete overlap here. Go ahead and hit OK, and it tells us we had 507 overlapping lines. So now when we simulate, we see it nice and perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this real quick. Now the first thing that I want to do is I'm not actually going to cut this blue circle here at all, but I'm going to use it more of like a guide kind of pickup. We had saw in one of the other videos we were actually doing a round piece of slate on how we would set up to make sure that our image was staying inside. So we're going to do a very similar thing here, actually the exact same thing we did there. So from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my scan, I'm going to turn that to no, and I'm going to come to my cut. I'm going to speed it up just a tad bit. We'll say maybe a 3 speed, but I'm going to turn my power down to 0. Now the reason that I'm doing this is that if we have this downloaded and we hit the frame button is going to frame out in a square. So by turning my power down to 0 and speeding it up a little bit, meaning it's going to run this cut. So instead of hitting frame, I'm actually going to hit the start button. And what's going to happen is the laser head's going to draw this circle right around my material and let me know if I'm off-centered at all. I do want to kind of minimize this a little bit because I am pushing the max on what the size of this is. So I'm going to select my entire image. I'm going to come up here to the top toolbar on the left. I'm going to lock my ratio here. And then I'm just going to drop this down by we'll say an inch. We'll do 16.75, just like that. All right. I'm going to go power my machine on real quick, and then I'm going to get this downloaded here. We're going to let our machine reset. And while that's doing that, I'm going to change my laser origin. Currently it's set for top center. So I'm going to come up to Config, System Setting. And right over here in the top right where it says Laser Head, we're going to select the center. And go ahead and exit out of that. So again, I've got my scan set to no, and I've got my cut set to yes with a 3-speed, 0 power. We're going to go ahead and download. All right, our file is downloaded, so we're going to grab our material and jump over to the machine here. So what I've done, I've already kind of measured out. I kind of put a piece of tape here just to find my center mark, kind of measured out. This may not be absolute perfect, which is one reason that we're doing it with the circle trace around it. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the machine. And I'm going to grab my focus stick here. I'm going to move it to the center. I'm going to press my ZU button on my machine to bring up my Z move. I'm going to use my right key, which is my Z plus, and raise that up so I can take my first focal reading. I've got that. I'm going to go ahead and hit escape. Move to the top here, and we're going to take a reading here. Look good. We look good. Over to my left and right. Oh. Okay. Other side. And we look good. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to my center mark here. I'm going to go ahead and hit origin. So, and again, if I hit frame here, it's going to kind of go through and draw out a box. All right, looks good there. I'm going to go ahead and close my lid so I can activate my limiter switch here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit start so we can trace around to see how good my measurement actually is. All right, we're looking pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my lid. And I'm very carefully going to go ahead and remove my tape here. Now, if you've got this completely masked off, you can just go ahead and hit start from that point. Or actually, after you adjust your speed and power settings. So we're going to real quickly jump back over to our computer here. Now, we are going to have to run this in a few different setups. Because we're going to be engraving on this board. Again, I don't want to go very deep. And then we're going to actually reload this file and actually cut out all this letter on some other material. That way we can actually take those cut out letters and things and put right inside and then glue them down or use any kind of adhesive. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my layer for my cut to no and my engrave back on. We're going to go ahead and do a 28 speed. And again, I just really want to mark on this. The board that I'm going to be cutting the letters out, the one that I have is pretty thin. It's only about an 1/8 thin, so I don't want to go too deep with this. Again, I'm just going to kind of use this engraving as a guide so I know where to place everything. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this power down to a, let's say 45. Adjust my min first. All right. And our DPI we can leave at 300. Go ahead and hit OK. And download. Override that old file there. All right. So we'll jump back over to our machine here. Go ahead and close my lid and turn my exhaust on here. And we'll go ahead and hit start. All right, so while that's running there, if you want, we can jump back over and we can answer any kind of questions we have got going on. I see we have a couple already. Having somebody ask, why am I using CorelDRAW? They always only use Lightburn. It's really either or is going to work exactly the same. Now, the problem with EPS files in Lightburn is Lightburn does not accept EPS files. So you would actually need to use like a JPEG or a different file format and actually trace that in Lightburn. But the process in what you're doing is going to be exactly the same there. We're moving right along here. We'll kind of run our simulate to kind of get an ETA of how long this is going to take here. And so, yeah, we got about 13, 14 minutes here. Again, this time here is not exact, just a quick estimate. Hope everybody's doing fine this nice Friday. Up here in Michigan, it's pretty cold. High of 20 today. We got someone asking, what type of wood is that? Circle blank pine from a box store. Yeah, so it is just a circle pine piece. I picked that up at Home Depot for around $9.99. They do also have a lot of other sizes that you can get as well. Getting this type of material is not very difficult at all. Any kind of lumber yard, craft store should have that material. And I'm having somebody ask, that lead items being taped first. I didn't do that, just wondering why. For this purpose here, again, I'm not really going to be using this as a final product here because we're just engraving, and I'm going to inlay those cutout letters in there. With the engraving too, it's not always necessary because just depends on how much cleanup that you want to do. With something like this, because there's a lot of really fine things, going through and having to pick out all that tape is a little bit time consuming, which is why I didn't really tape it off for this purpose here. But also taping it off can help save on overburn. Also, believe it or not, I always keep a little bottle, and I've actually got some right here, of peroxide as well. Peroxide works really well when you're cleaning up wood, especially really sappy wood. What this will do, this will actually take that overburn off without distorting or discoloring your wood. No need to sand or anything like that. And again, works well with that really sappy kind of wood. If you let it just sit for a minute, kind of dry that sap up, because we are heating it up with the laser, come over with the peroxide and a rag, and like I said, it'll just wipe it right off. And I'm having somebody ask, you have an 1812, what wood would, I'm assuming you're going to ask, use? Same type of wood. All of our machines are more than capable of handling any of these projects that we do here. I am using the 4836 100-watt machine for today. I think on our next video I will be trying to use the 1812. I did have a 2616 in here. Unfortunately, that one went out to a customer. I have someone asking what size lens I'm using. I'm using the standard 2-inch lens. If you ever watch any of my videos, I typically always use the standard 2-inch lens unless I say otherwise. Which fine detail work, I try to use like 1.5 inches. Works great for photos. If I'm doing glass work or anything like that, I typically use the 3-inch lens. And if I'm doing something like a curved surface, like say the side of a whiskey barrel or the top of a casket, I would use a 4-inch lens for that. Having someone apologize because they are brand new. Please, please, please don't ever apologize for being brand new. We all have been brand new at one point in time. There's no such thing as a silly question, especially when you're learning, and that's what we're all about doing here. Someone asked what % of a peroxide. I'll be honest, I don't know that. I just picked this up right at the dollar store. It's nothing special at all, so you can get this basically anywhere. So, want to know what wood to be used on your 1812? Honestly, I think that was just kind of a follow-up on the last one, but I'll go ahead and circle back to it. Any type of wood will work perfectly fine for this kind of scenario. With the 1812, just keep in mind that your cutting thickness is a little bit different than the larger size machines, and it's just because it's a lower watt machine, okay? So 1/8 inch thick is probably the max that you're going to be able to get with it. I would definitely recommend testing out, sampling out on any of these processes. If you have any questions about product or anything like that, settings, please feel free to give our tech support team a call. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions we can for you. Yes, we definitely want to let the wood dry if it's got sap in it before you use the peroxide. Again, because the laser is actually adding heat to that, it's going to bubble up that sap in there and it can get real sticky. If you try to use sandpaper on it, you're just going to kind of smear it around. I find using the peroxide or a mix of peroxide and a little bit of sandpaper goes a long way. Someone's asking about liquid mask and the difference on one or the other. Really, it's a user preference kind of thing. I'm more of a masking tape kind of person. The liquid wrench is just a little bit more expensive than I want to spend on some masking, but it does work great. I have used it in the past. What's nice about that is that you just kind of spray it on or wipe it on, and then it's going to solidify and then allow you to engrave, and then just kind of peels right back off, kind of like a rubber sealant. Okay, yeah, so I'm having somebody, if I could just recap real quickly. They just got logged on there. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm making a 3D sign. So I'm going through, I've created the file. I'm actually running it on a piece of board. When this is done engraving, we're going to actually put in some different wood, and we're actually going to cut this design out so we'll be able to glue it to the wood sign here. We will be recording this, and this will be available on YouTube next Thursday. So if you missed any part of the beginning, you can always come back and watch it here later. Yep, Christy, I guess EPS, when we're showing the movements on software, and yes, this will be posted after so you can watch it. All right, moving right along here, we're almost done. Someone's asking if there's a limited amount of people that can come to these lessons. No, not at all. You can simply register. If you get the link, you're more than welcome to share it with your staff. If you guys are in different locations, the more the merrier. I love seeing everybody join us. We've been slowly increasing from like 10 people when we started doing this, and now we're up to 30. I would love to get 50, 60 of you guys all in here joining me today. So someone's asking where I got this particular image from. So I purchased this one from a website called Big Stock, which is a great place to go to get vector images, photographic images, all type of different file formats. There's a lot of different places you can go to get these files as well. Shutterstock is a big one. Etsy, believe it or not, you can get a lot of files off Etsy for very inexpensive prices. I'm talking like $2, $3. You can get some really nice images that way. There's really a lot of them out there. It really just depends on how much you want to pay with some of these places. I know like with Big Stock, you can purchase to where you can buy X amount of images for a certain amount of dollars. You can sign up for a monthly or annual to where you can pay a certain amount of money and you get up to like 5 images you can download a day. Honestly, in a month, just paying that fee and you downloading 5 to 10 images a day, you can build your library up really quickly. Again, my personal preference is let's come looking for something specific. I like to go with these sheets that have numerous images on there because you get a little bit more bang for your buck. Somebody's asking about last week's workshop. So we had a little bit of a hiccup last week, and I do apologize about that. We are actually going to be recording that again on just a dry run, and we will be posting that. I apologize about not being able to get that recorded for everybody and get that posted by now. But we do have plans, again, on recording a dry run with that, walking through everything we did, and we'll be posting that here soon. Somebody saying that they had made a 4-layer, 24-inch round sign with their 1812. I'm so happy to hear that. I love doing different things with the machines. Like you could see by some of the examples I did, you know, simply just changing a line can change the entire way your engraving comes out. It's always fun to play around and see what you can do. Someone's asking if they wanted to do something, if they could get a lesson on it before they had try it. If you're ever needing any kind of assistance, you're always more than welcome to give AP Lazer a call. Our tech support team are excellent staff. They'll be more than happy to guide you along, give you any kind of lessons. If you're looking to purchase one-on-one trainings, you do have that available too. We do sell them at 4-hour increments for right around $250, where you can have one-on-one time with a technician and spend 4 hours with them talking about anything in advanced trainings, things you are trying to do that you like to do, anything like that. So feel free, give our tech support team a call. We'll be more than happy to get you squared away there. Someone asking if they can post a link on their YouTube channel so attendees can see how to build a low. Yeah, absolutely. If anybody is doing anything out there, you know, and we're a big family community here. I don't know how many of you guys have been on our Facebook group or anything like that, but we highly encourage you know, customer interaction between each other. If you're doing something cool, we want to see it. You know, if you don't mind sharing your techniques or what you're doing, by all means, you know, share away. If you would like to make a video of what you're doing, you're more than happy to do that as well. You can post it on our user group or Before You Buy group. We love seeing those kinds of things. Someone is asking about the font. Yes, you know, when you are cutting things out, thicker font does work better, which was one reason I did maximize and make that like American Beer in the established 1996 a little bit better. On top of that, just easier to glue those pieces in there instead of dealing with little tiny spots there. And someone is asking what liquid mask is. So what liquid mask is actually a well, it's just that, it's just a liquid mask. It's almost kind of like a gel, okay, that you can put over material, and it acts just like a taped mask does, or masking tape. So the laser will actually penetrate it, etch down in it. Now, I do recommend using liquid mask instead of masking tape when you're going to be filling it in with paint, okay? Because the liquid mask almost adds like a sealant, and it's not like the masking tape that can peel up slightly or get in your way, or the paint's going to bleed underneath of it. I have used it before on, believe it or not, quite a few years back. I engraved a car door. Hopefully we can get up to that point here. And that's what we had used with that. We had used the liquid mask because we wanted to coat it so we could etch through the painting of the car door and then go back through and paint it with some automotive paint. I don't have a brand off the top of my head for that liquid mask. I do believe that you can buy that from JDS, which is a laser supply company. Great for materials, products, all kinds of different things. I would recommend checking out there first. All right, we're almost done here, and then what we're going to do, while that's finishing up, what I'm going to come do, I'm going to jump back over to my computer here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to delete my circle that I have here, because what we want to do now is we're going to turn this all into a cut file. All right, so I'm going to select everything. Actually, I'm going to come over. We're going to double click on our parameter, change this from a scan to a cut. I'm going to go ahead and do a 1 speed. And we'll do 85 max power, 83 min power. I'm going to hit OK. Now, one thing that you want to do when you are cutting out is you want to make sure that on certain objects like this here in the middle, that you're assigning that a different layer so those actually get cut out first. You don't ever want to cut out the outside of an image and then to try to jump onto the inside. So when that's finishing up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these inside cuts. So I'm going to select one. I'm going to hold my shift key, and that's going to allow me to select numerous of these so I don't have to go through one by one. And then I'm just going to come down here and select a different color and say blue. I'm going to do the same thing with the inside of my letters here. So I'm going to go start with my B. I'm going to hold my shift key down. Assign that blue as well. Get our established here, blue. So what I'm going to do now is, if we look at our laser cut layer, our black layer here, I'm actually going to want to make that my priority 2. So if you look right below there, we'll see our speed, our power, and our priority. So it says priority number 1. I'm going to switch that to priority number 2. I'm going to turn my blue layer back on, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. 1 speed. 85 and 83. All right, that part is done there. So I just want to get a quick measurement. So the boards that I actually have that we're going to be cutting out on are a little bit smaller than what we have, or than what our entire image is here. So what I'm actually going to do is, because I don't need these to be cut out at the same time. So I'm actually going to come down here. I'm going to assign this a green layer, and I'm going to leave that green layer as a no, so it's not going to do anything. So if we simulate here, we can see we're just getting the brewery and this. Now, if I had a longer board, what I could do is I could just take this here and shift over. But unfortunately, I don't have that. So I'm going to go ahead and download this now. All right. And we're going to come over to our machine here. Take this out. And so this is our first part right here. So we see it looks nice, but like I said, we're going to add in some cutouts here to kind of make this stand out and pop a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. Now the boards that I have here are just 12 by 12 boards. So I'm going to go ahead and put one in, and we're going to check our focus again. I'm going to move it over to roughly center there, origin and frame. Little too much there. All right, so we're going to jump back to my computer here real quick. Going to kind of I'm going to shift this around just a little bit here. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to switch my brewery to the green layer here. And we're going to go ahead and cut this one out. So I'm going to re-download. All right. You can see we're off just a little bit, so I'm going to reposition. There we go. Go ahead and hit start so we can start cutting out our letters here. So I'm asking somebody what type of boards and thickness. I'm just using some kind of vinyl flooring kind of boards, not real thick. They're about an 1/8 inch thick. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. And so we're going to be cutting these out, and then we can add a little bit of adhesive, some wood glue into the back end of those, and actually set them into the spots where we just engraved. Someone asking about the thickness of board or what the max thickness of board. That really depends on the type of machine that you have. For the 100-watt machines, 1/4 inch works great. For the lower wattage machines, you're looking at right around an 1/8 inch, especially for like our 1812, because it's only about a 30-watt machine. Looks like our hops is done there, almost. All right, while that's going there, I'm going to jump back up to my computer screen. I'm going to go ahead and move brewery out of my way. And I'm going to go ahead and just delete that bottom part there. Now the boards that I'm using are 12 by 12, and so we can see this image here is about 13. So what I can actually do is I can actually just grab a couple of these letters like so. And what I'm actually going to do is just move them downwards a little bit. So now we've kind of reduced our size to make sure it's going to fit into our area. So I'm going to go ahead and relayer again while our other images are running. Adjust our speed here. All right, that way when this is done here, we can go back and we'll move our board and then download and run this piece, this part here. So somebody asking, okay, so if they have a 3/4 or 1 inch thick, about going over it numerous times. You can try to attempt to do that. What's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of charring going on. The other issue is that you're eventually going to run out of a focal point. Okay, so when we talk about these lenses and we say it's a 2-inch lens, 3-inch lens, whatever the case may be, we're actually talking about the focal length. You have to imagine the beam hitting that lens and then coming out kind of like an X, okay? So the center of that X is where that power is concentrated at, and that is at the bottom of our focal stick. So if you start getting past that, you're going to be starting to lose power on there. Now with our other size lenses, basically what they are, they're a little bit more flat, so they allow a lot more of the raw power of the beam to pass through it. So it has a lot more of a tolerance for when it starts coming out of focus. Now, using one of those lenses when you're trying to cut something out as far as thicknesses, keep in mind that that beam or your kerf is going to be a lot larger than what your 2-inch is going to be used for. All right, so this part's done. I'm going to go ahead and download this second cutout. All right, jump back to our machine here. Grab out all of our letters here. Just want to double check focus again real quick. We look good. I'm going to make sure my file's downloaded and get these parts out of my hand here. All right. And that's finishing up cutting there. Let's see. Someone's asking about changing the lenses. Yeah, again, you're going to still run into the exact same problem if you try to, basically what the question's being asked is if they use a 2-inch lens to the first cut, on 3/4 inch and then try to change the 3-inch lens and ran the program again, would it work or not? Not really, because you're going to have to refocus that based off of that 3-inch lens, and that can cause your image to be offset because now you're changing the distance between it. Again, you're going to run into the same issue with the charring because again, that 3-inch lens is going to give you a bigger dot size than with that 2-inch. So not only is it going to cut over what the 2-inch did, but it's going to have a bigger overburn on the outside and inside of that cut line. All right, we're done there. So let's grab our last little pieces there. So essentially what we're going to do on this last bit of a step here is that you were just going to take a little bit of wood glue, and then you can dabble it on the back end of this or right inside here. And so you're just going to kind of overlay that right in there like so. Same thing with any of your other letters here. And they're going to fit in there just nice and snug. So very similar to something like that. So you can kind of see how you get the 3D kind of look out of it, where these letters and everything are going to kind of be elevated up. Again, I don't have any glue on me right at the moment, but I will be gluing this up and finalizing it and showing you guys some pictures later on here. So we'll go ahead and open this up. A little bit more questions going on here. Someone is asking what was the speed and power for the cuts. I was using a 1-speed, 85 max and 83 min power for that. I normally offset those numbers just a little bit, just for when it's curving around, it kind of dips down that power just a tiny little bit. Yeah, Frank, if you would like to call, if you want to talk about the X acceleration, please give our tech support team a call, or you can reach out to me. I think you got my email. Be more than happy to answer that question for you. Someone else asking if these questions, yeah, at the moment we are only hosting these classes once a week. If we start getting more of a response for them, we definitely will try to expand out on these and maybe do them a couple times a week. And again, we always try to repost later, so if you're not able to make the class due to time changes or time zone changes or scheduling conflicts, we do typically post these videos again on our YouTube channel. We are still working on trying to get them uploaded to our AP Lazer University, so you can follow along there as well. So thank you guys, everybody. And someone asking, yes, they are usually about, I try to keep them within an hour. I think we start pushing too far past that. People try to get a little bit bored and wander off a little bit. So I try to keep it simple, to the point. And someone else asking, yes, absolutely. If you have topics, if you guys have things you want to see, different processes, I'm always looking for suggestions on this. I just make these things up based off of different questions I get through the tech support line, or talking to the other technicians on questions that they get. So please, by all means, email me with any suggestions you may have or videos you would like to see get made. If you don't have my email address, I'll go ahead and put it out there. It's very simple. It's Jason, Jason, at aplazer.com. That is laser with a Z. Again, I'm always up for suggestions. I'm always up for techniques. Anything like that, I will be the first person out there to say that I don't know everything, and I'm always willing to learn. So until next time, everybody, thanks a lot. I appreciate everybody being here today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.